Okay, here's another League of Legends game coming your way, this time with Morgana support. And as for this game, it's my first game actually looking at the championship, or the victorious Morgana skin, so I'm giving it a little glance as we move out of base. One thing that I can say is I don't like how it makes her look more human than normal. It has some neat graphics. I really wouldn't say it's even close to being her best skin, but it's a free skin and I don't really have one better, so I might actually use this. We'll see. Anyway, we do need to cover the lane matchups. First I need to get the tri-brush for a potential invade. Or defense against an invade, I mean. But you can see okay. We have Riven top against Trundle. Mundo and... Okay, what am I mousing over? Well, I'm Morgana with Lucian bot against Janna and Vayne. And we have Lucian in the jungle, or it's Lucian against Trundle. Okay, I just noticed that. And that's pretty much the only thing I could think of to answer Lee's question. So I guess it's top lane Mundo instead. It's been a little while since I recorded this game, and I will say that obviously I'm doing this post-commentary. And I'd say this is actually one of the games I record earlier in the day compared to how I usually record at night, and you can actually see the difference in terms of ping. It's actually considerably better. But before the game started, Lucian and I talked a bit, and he really wanted to go aggressive right out the gate. So right here I'm sitting in the river to try to ambush them if they come out, and I will tell you they will. So they're going to come here and they're going to eat a dark binding. And just like that, it's going to stall Vayne a bit, it does a little bit of damage, and of course I get the gold off the Spell Thieves. Now I want to poke her a bit and try to zone her from just entering the lane directly. And you can see with just the level 1 poke, we took about a third of her health off. And right there, Janna ate a Dark Binding to lose some of her health. Namely, by keeping them out of the lane, we could get an earlier level 2 and then actually press our advantage, since I'll pick up the Tormented Soil and make things even worse. Anyway, while we wait, yeah, Vayne went Rambo there, and sadly she does get away due to Flash and Heal and Exhaust getting all burned simultaneously. But anyway, you can tell we came out of that exchange quite a bit ahead. But let me go over how Morgana works. Your passive is basically a form of Spell Vamp. The way Spell Vamp actually works in the game, it amounts to actually very, very little, but it helps you get a few extra hit points every now and then. When you're actually mid-Morgana and stacking AP, it can actually matter somewhat, but when you're supporting, not really that much, no. Anyway, we get to poke down Janna there, and you can see that they just now hit level 2, and it pretty much cost them all their hit points. And Vayne took Condemn, as I would recommend. Meanwhile, Janna eats another Dark Binding and sits on the Tormented Soil. Sadly, I'm running low on mana, but bye, Janna. And that's first blood. Lucian ate a tower shot, sadly. And if you're wondering about the lag thing, I know it's not just me that's having the problem. I'm kind of hoping it gets resolved for this coming week. It's a bit of a big if, but the next patch is supposed to be coming out, and maybe that will make things a little bit better. I would say the worst game I had is one that actually got reduced to a 4v4 thanks to players dropping in and out. Basically, neither team had a top laner. Yeah. Anyway, picking up from where I left off of your moveset, your Q is Dark Binding. That move, you can see the blue graphic. I ended up eating a turret shot and silver bolt proc, but we're basically keeping Vayne from CS and by extension gold and EXP. As for the Dark Binding, it's a slow-moving linear skill shot. It's one of the longest-lasting forms of CC in the game. It starts out at something like 1 second at rank 1, and it goes all the way up to 3 seconds at max rank. So if the enemy doesn't have any form of tenacity, that's a 3-second lockdown, and if they do have tenacity, then it's just a 2-second lockdown, which is still pretty outrageous. Sadly, that whiffed a bit. Needed to go a couple centimeters further. Oh well. And I will admit that the hitbox on the dark binding is a little weird. Basically, sometimes you will hit it when you shouldn't, or even get hit by it if you're up against Morgana. One of the things that people are asking Riot to fix, because the whole reason for the 3-second CC is because it's slow moving, but weird hitbox. Anyway, your W is Tormented Soil. Now that we have them poked down quite a bit, we can go ahead and cash in our gold. Usually, I like going for the next level of Spell Thieves because I get more gold, I deal more damage, I can zone better, I can potentially weaken someone for a kill. Gonna go ahead and pick up the Fairy Charm so I can use my spells a bit more. And basically the reason why I like doing this is for aggressive reasons. If I'm actually going to play passively, then yeah, rushing the Sightstone is the best course of action, but we want blood, damn it, you guys want a show. So we have to go up to the Frostfang. So right there I'm taking another look. I'm not a fan of the dress. The wings are okay. I still don't like the fact that it makes her look more human-like. She's supposed to be like a fallen angel type character. I was kind of hoping they'd do something a little bit more with that theme or something. Instead we get freaking human Morgana. Anyway, Tormented Soil, you target an area on the ground, it becomes cursed or something or another. You can see it right there, it's the blue patch, the circle on the ground. And we just got Janna's Flash. The Tormented Soil is one of the better looking graphics for the Victorious skin. It's not exactly saying much though. I haven't actually noticed the new recall animation yet, so we will be coming back to that. And poor Vayne. So I gave Lucian the black shield and I ate the Condemn instead, go figure. But down goes Vayne, and the lane is just going to be getting that much worse for them. Anyway, the Tormented Soil does damage based off of the enemy's health. It's not actually like a percent shred, it's just the amount of the base damage on the move changes based on how much health the enemy has. Usually if you're like mid lane Morgana, you'd want to max the W, but since I'm support, I want to max the Q to keep the enemy locked down as much as possible, and by extension get more kills for Lucian. Your E is Black Shield. It's the main reason why Morgana even got the Victorious skin this season. Basically, it's a shield that... How much did Janna have? Something like 6 HP when she limped out of that? Neat. But Black Shield, it only protects you from magic damage. Right here I used my ult, but I didn't get the Black Shield up in time, so Vayne managed to break the tether. I still get to zone her a bit, and make sure she doesn't get a last hit. So it offers no protection from physical attacks, but that's the good part. AD carries and just AD casters in general can't break your shield. Of course, casters, their damage is mitigated, and the key thing is the shield cancels out any CC that's used on whoever receives the shield. So you can think of it as kind of like a Banshee's Veil or something along those lines. You can even think of it as like a Black King bar if you're familiar with Dota. Usually you want to max that last regardless of where you go, unless you're in a really nasty lane. Right there is when I actually noticed the new animation, and I'll actually zoom in on it later on so you guys can see it. As for this, I can pick up my other Fairy Charm, which I'm ultimately going to turn into a Chalice to become a Mikhail's Crucible. The enemy team doesn't exactly have a lot of lockdown, but I wanted to see if I could cleanse away, crap, what's Trundle's ult called? Subjugate. I wanted to see if I could actually get rid of that, the armor debuff, and potentially save one of my allies. In this case it would probably be Lee, since Lee is the potential tank, I guess. Anyway, Lucian goes down, Vayne is going the wrong way, so Tormented Soil, I managed to pick her up. I use Exhaust on Janna to try to hold her down, and Lee can pick that one up, and there's Trundle in the river, but once he saw Janna go down, I guess he figured, screw this, I'm heading somewhere else. But the nice thing about the Black Shield is, I'd say that actually makes Morgana the hardest counter to support Annie, since you can actually, like, Annie has to telegraph her aggression to a certain degree. Of course, she can always flash Tibbers, but the question is, what is she going to do for the other 5 minutes flashes on cooldown? And the thing is, whenever she telegraphs, you can put up the Black Shield, go in there to harass her a bit, try to deter her, make her rethink her course of action. And since support Annie doesn't actually have a lot of stats that mid lane Annie would have, you could actually take a good piece out of her if you can land your Dark Binding. Of course, Morgana is just good against any heavy CC lane in general. Varus and Ashe in particular, she's a good answer to since she can Black Shield their ults. Anyway, moving on to the final part of your kit, your ult is Soul Shackles. It's a tether type move, point blank AoE. You will send tethers to all of the enemies around you. And right here I think we end up both using a ward, so yeah. It's not like it's Jarvan where he can jump the wall or anything to get into that brush. Janna goes down, Mundo goes down, Jace goes down, 3 guys drop all at once. And right here I used the Dark Binding because I was expecting Lucian to have killed that a bit sooner and then hoping we could have went all in on Vayne, but we still chase her off. She gets the message she's not welcome here, and Trundle, good pillar guy. Yeah. So Vayne is on me for some reason when Lucian's the guy that's going to kick her ass. I go ahead and use the Soul Shackles right here so you can check it out. Basically, the enemy takes some damage once you activate the move, and then they have something like a 2-second window to get away from you. Of course, they are slowed by the tether as well. And if they don't, then they get rooted in place or snared or something. So usually for Morgana, regardless of whether or not you're support or mid, you want to get a Zhonya's Hourglass so you can just flash or walk into the enemy team, pop your ult, pop the Zhonya's for invulnerability so they can't kill you, and then they either have to get away from you or tank your ult, which may not be too healthy for them. As for this, I'm trying to help Lee with the kiting because I need to go back anyway, so if I lose some health, oh well. And do I zoom in on the ult or the recall yet? There we go. So I didn't get to show you the beginning of it, but I will go back to it periodically to try to show it. As for this back, I need to go ahead and complete my Sightstone. I can pick up the Chalice, and I can go ahead and grab the Amp Tome and the Boots. A pretty huge back. Sadly, we did lose Riven. She killed Janna since Janna roamed all the way top. I guess she kind of gave up on Vayne. And I'm even pointing that out there. Yeah, it's not really a good thing when your support goes top lane. Basically, if your bot lane hadn't already lost, it would immediately. What else is there to talk about? Well, with their team, they have Trundle and Mundo. Trundle's passive is King's Tribute. Whenever something dies by him, not actually like killed by him, but actually dies in proximity to him. As for this, I probably could have tried a Dark Binding, it's just I didn't know if Lucian was waiting for something in particular, if he knew something I didn't, or what. So I didn't actually help him there. Sadly, it does cost him his life, but I avenge him. That's what counts, right? So there's Jace's power shot. He decides to race at me in a straight line, so later, Jace. I ended up using Exhaust just so that he couldn't get out. You noticed I actually needed the extra second or two to kill him with my auto attacks. And that's the mid laner dying to the support. To help further put into context how bad this is for the enemy. As for this pack, I'm going to go ahead and finish the Frost Queen. It's pretty good to synergize with Soul Shackle since you can actually slow the enemy so they have a harder time getting away from you. Of course, the downside of that is just if you don't have a Zhonya's Hourglass pretty soon, they could just kill you. So, go figure. But picking up where I left off with Trundle and Mundo, Mundo's ult is a surge of healing, Trundle's ult is not exactly a surge, but it's increased healing because he's going to steal health and defense stats, basically everything a tank wants from one unlucky member of our team. Then you factor in Janna's Monsoon, Vayne's going to have some form of lifesteal. I got someone, but not with the soil. What I'm getting at is the enemy is going to have a lot of ways to heal themselves, and in this game it's pretty much a must for a Morello Nomicon. It definitely will come in handy because if, depending on how things go, I can pretty much negate Mundo's ults or really take a large piece out of it. Because you inflict the grievous wound and then the damage from the spell itself on the reduced healing could really do enough on it. As for this, I did the flash ult. Vayne had to flash to get out of it. She condemned Lucian out of his ult. Lee killed Janna, and sadly Lucian didn't actually get anything off the Janna kill. If you're wondering about this game, I will go ahead and tell you that there are a ton of fights, so you guys have no reason to be bored. And as you can see, top lane Mundo is not going down without a fight. Bad news is, once I do get that Morello Nomicon, we no longer need to have Ignite to deal with him. And you even get to see me punish him once later on, which I'll leave you hanging in anticipation, I hope. So, right there, Riven's apologizing, but this is just like the Poppy game. So what if the top lane is losing? I'll say if they're slightly losing, because the key thing is the enemy bot lane is getting smashed, just utterly destroyed. And as a result, the lead that we're accumulating on two characters, especially our AD carry, is more than going to offset the lead that they have on one character. So by winning this, we are setting their AD carry and their support behind, and Vayne is pretty scary late. As for Mundo, he can be a bit of a problem, but as long as you have a wait, there's the close-up of her recall. I actually didn't know about that when I started the game, and like I said, that's probably the high point of the skin. Leaves things to be desired. Get to pick up the Amp Tome, which is ultimately going to become the Zonia's Hourglass. And as for this one, we really don't have a lot of late game power compared to the enemy team, the Trundle, the Mundo, the Vayne. But the key thing is, we actually have a decent team fight because we have Shockwave, we have my Soul Shackles, and we can even try to factor in Riven's Wind Slash to be like an AoE execute. Of course, Lucian's Piercing Light, his Q, will actually hit more than one enemy. It's just Lee that doesn't really have a lot of multiple target damage to really contribute. But like I said, he should be our tank in this game. So he definitely has an excuse. His job is just to absorb punishment, not actually deal it. As for this one, I'm warding over the wall just in case we could try to catch them heading down. Considerable minion wave, so I was hoping maybe Vayne would have got greedy. All in all, you can see, no. And the sad part about with Janna is, due to her passive and the passive on her W, which gives her increased movement speed, it's... your best chance of hitting her with a skill shot is at level 1. And then, pretty much every level past... let's see, she'll get Zephyr usually at level 2. That's when she first becomes harder to hit. She'll take the next point in Zephyr at level 8, which is next breakpoint in her speed. And then every level past 9 would usually be another point in Zephyr, and she just gets harder and harder and harder to hit. That's not even counting the AP scaling that was included in Season 4. So right there, Jace wanted to try to kill Lucian. He found out Lucian has friends. And it kind of sucked to be the defender of tomorrow, huh? So the Dark Binding connects, I get to drop the Tormented Soil to take some pieces out of people, and my Dark Binding should be maxed now, so it's a full 3-second stun. Sadly, Mundo's Flames of Agony that you could see him wearing right there does mean that he's going to get out a little bit sooner since it's an extra source of tenacity. Looks like he's using Ninja Tabby, so unless he has the defensive mastery, it's just his W and that mastery for tenacity. And right here, you can see the good doctor is now leaving the building. And that was a pretty good monsoon from Janna because there goes... I think they ace us here. Don't remember if Ori gets out. But due to the lag, you get to see a slow motion chase, and right here the slow is on him, but Trundle pillar to the back. And I have enough gold to actually afford the needlessly large rod, so I decided to delay the Seeker's Arm Guard, even though it would be a decent pickup. It would give me some protection against Jace, Vayne, and Trundle. But more AP means I can deal more damage with my Dark Binding as well as my Tormented Soil. Anyway, once I have the Dark Binding max, the next thing I want to do is start putting more points into the Tormented Soil. I could put a couple extra points into the Black Shield to increase its actual durability, as well as just bringing its cooldown to something that's more manageable. Sadly, due to the way I'm currently set up, I just have the 10% from the Frost Queen, 5% from Mastery, and my scaling 5%, which will be kicking in all the way up until around level 18, when it actually does reach 5%. Once I do get the Morello Nomicon, though, that's going to be an extra 20%, and the Mikhail's Crucible an extra 10, so I would be going over the 40% cap, but it's worth it, I think. Anyway, right here, Mundo getting a little fed, came back to bite Lucian. He figured he'd be a wise guy and try to teleport out, but Lee's ult breaks that, so he wasn't really going anywhere. As for this, Vayne thought she hit the jackpot with the pink ward or something, but instead I get to take out some of her health. Janna hits me with her Sever and her Tornado, but they can't pierce my Black Shield thanks to the needlessly large rod and everything. Lee goes ahead and goes in for some reason, which is not the wisest of moves. And I pop my ult. So Vayne goes down, Janna goes down, and Trundle... yeah, he's gonna limp out of there, sadly. Jace eats the shockwave, and it's just down to me and Ori for defending our mid. Riven went ahead and took the top inner. All in all, that's a good move on her part, since she didn't really get fed in lane. She's actually taking the opportunity to catch up in CS so she can actually matter late game. And right there I pulled up the Morello Nomicon to see how much it costs, since this is probably the... I don't even remember the last time I built that item. All in all, it's pretty good when the enemy has tons of sustain, and this is one of those times. You usually don't see Mundo and Trundle together, but this is just among the weird things I've seen in the postseason. I don't really know what it is, but people I don't know if it's just that they've given up or if they really are trying everything they possibly can think of. It's just, there are tons of weird crap going on at the moment, and this is just one of those. So, I can Black Shield to cancel out the Pillar Slow, but it doesn't really help since Trundle is still pretty fast once he drops his Frozen Domain. As for this, since Trundle just burned his Trinket, I can ward that without any concern of it getting taken down within the next minute. And you can see Riven does take down Mundo. I don't remember what they were packing for summoner spells, if Riven actually had Ignite to deal with him. Well, as you can see, the enemy is coming around from behind. Sadly, I got a little separated. And right here, you get to see me do my old Zonius combo. So I picked off Trundle, I allowed Lucian to pick up a triple, and once again, just as it's your job as a support to get your carry fed. Right here I'm tanking the tower, hoping that he'd do a bit more with it, and I'll go ahead and warn you that this is not the first or, well, it's the first time, but not the last time Lucian's going to do other things while I'm trying to tank a turret. So, mid and top inhibitor turrets are down, and it's just bad news for the enemy. Good news is, due to their immense late game power, they aren't quite throwing in the towel. Bad news is just that we're getting so far ahead that their power doesn't really matter in the scheme of things. As for this part, well, can I escape? That's the question. Vayne's passive gives her a movement speed boost when racing towards someone she can see, which is why I need to try to break vision as much as possible to turn off her passive. I can go ahead and fling the Dark Binding behind me. Right there I have the black shield up to negate the Trundle, slowing a potential Vayne Condemn. And right here I get a little help from my mid laner, and lo and behold, Morgana escapes. So I'm sticking around here because Ori seemed to be in a bit of trouble. I wasn't sure if I didn't want her to die in my place, pretty much. Sure, I am making away with an enemy red buff that I picked up off someone, I don't know. But it's not really worth it for the support to live at the cost of the mid laner. So I like to usually pick up captains on my support boot enchantments. I went for home guards here so I could try to rejoin the fight and potentially save Ori. I went ahead and picked up the Fiendish Codex to ultimately become part of the Morello. That's an extra 10% CDR, so I'll be able to rotate my moves that much more often. As for this, you can see a fight brewing. I go ahead and drop the Black Shield on Lucian, not in time to get the assist on Trundle, but enough to negate the Janna Monsoon, and there goes Mundo. And people stopped using Morgana for some reason. Well, the wonders never cease. So, mid inhibitor is down. And you can see they go all in on Vayne. Lee ends up tanking some turret fire. Get some help from Ori, but like right here, I'm trying to tank the turret. Hey guys, go hit this. Lucian wants CS. And yeah, once I get shot up and then start walking away, then he wants to shoot the turret. Go ahead and give him the black shield so he can get out of the pillar's area of effect. And right here, Mundo tried to ambush me while I had the shop window open, but old Zonia's, and sorry Doc, I've got you. So in the future, hopefully that discourages him from doing that. And you can see Lucian, 2.7k, he kills Mundo. Now I'm at 3k gold. As for this, I almost gave you guys a good view of the recall animation, but then Jace had to go ahead and shoot at Ori. But right here I got the Morellos. I now have max CDR, I believe, or not yet. 20 and then 10 and then 5. Yeah, I still have a couple more levels before I actually hit the max. But at this point, the only item left for me to pick up is my Crucible, and then I want to sell the Frost Queen for an Abyssal Scepter. The advantage of the Abyssal Scepter is more MR, more... Right there I used my ult to try to save Ori. She tried to help me. Goes around, comes around, Ori. So, Riven and Lee managed to pick up the kills, but sadly Vayne does kill Ori in the end. I didn't get an assist off Vayne, sadly, but Ori was avenged. But the reason for the Abyssal Scepter is that it gives me AP, MR, and there's also an MR removing effect that's on everyone around you, enemy-wise, like Fiddlestick's passive. So what this means is when I flash Zonia's in, I will be taking out part of the enemy's MR. Yeah, this is a bit ugly. So we lost Riven and Lee. Right here I can try to snare him in place. I end up eating a turret shot, but we got their Nexus turrets down, but there isn't too much I can actually do here. So Lucian takes out Mundo. Grievous Wounds OP. And... yeah, I can't tell if I actually got the Grievous Wound on Trundle in time. He's using the Feral Flare? Seriously? Okay. So right here you get to see the recall animation. Combine light and dark, create something or another, levitate, and poof. Yeah, I don't actually think I get to finish anything else for this game. We're approaching the end, sadly. But the nice thing about taking out more of the enemy's MRs increases the damage you do, and it's also going to increase the damage that Ori does, and anyone else who does magic damage on your team. So it's basically an extra set of penetration for Ori to use, even though, well, you can basically consider, like, reduction as similar to penetration, just for math purposes. As for this, Mundo shows up. Don't really know what he planned to do. I ulted just to try to keep him in place. And this, I believe they actually do kill me, but I get to use the Frost Queen in time. All in all, it's giving them a little bit of hope, but it's not really enough to actually put them back in the game. We still got the dragon, they got 2 kills. There was a shutdown on me, the support, surprisingly. But they can push towards the mid. Lee is a little banged up. We still have Ori and Lucian, but I think Lucian just flashed in place or something. And down he goes. There's the shockwave, which pulls Jace out of his animation. Down goes Janna. Jace went down in the fight. And just like that, Ori lasted long enough for reinforcements to arrive and even took out 2 of the enemies. Let's see, she's got Zhonya's Deathcap, Grail, no Void Staff yet, so yeah, if I could have gotten the Abyssal Scepter by now, that would have given her a little bit of extra damage to go with her Sorcerer's Shoes. Oh well. All in all, I think they're probably still satisfied with the end result of this game. As for this, I guess Trundle thought it wasn't safe to get his own red buff or something, so he just took the buff and left the small creep too scared to stick around. I can go ahead and Black Shield Ori to cancel the slow on the cleavers, but sadly the cleavers are magic damage, so they can pop the Black Shield. One of the drawbacks, I guess. As for this, we now have Riven around. I'm here with my sweeper. There's their ward. And the good doctor gets caught with his pants down. Chase's shot falls short, and before the enemy can arrive or even ward it, down goes the Baron. Not really sure if Mundo really is better off with Tabby instead of Merc Treads, but it's his call. As for this, I drop the Black Shield on Lee. He ends up eating Chase's Q instead. I think that's his Q. Grievous Wounds are on Mundo, so you can see that the heal from his ult was actually significantly reduced. As a result, he actually isn't going to be rejoining this battle. I don't make it in time for Trundle, but I get to drop my Black Shield on Lucian just in case Vayne tries to condemn him, and he goes down, Lucian gets the triple kill, and all that's left is Mundo, I believe. And it cost us Lee. Poor Lee. So right there I did the Black Shield Riven, Shockwave falls short, and I end up eating the Cleaver instead. But right there, their Nexus is exposed, and this is the end of the game. So you get to see the Morgana skin. I got to check it out myself. Yeah, it's a free skin, I guess. Anyway, Morgana support. Thoughts and observations will go in the description. I'm the Hero of Light.